Welcome back to another CirdecSongs interview, ladies and gents. I am very happy to be here, and I hope you're happy to be here looking at me and my guest, who I will introduce shortly because I'm really excited. Before we get started, I would really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe to my YouTube channel so it will grow. And please comment because it shows the dreaded YouTube algorithm that I actually exist. And that's kind of the goal right now. So let's get down to business, as it were. This is my first sequel. I'm very excited about this. This is the second time I have interviewed my special guest, a bass-playing marvel. Actually, I will call her a musical marvel because she plays bass and she sings, and I bet she does all kinds of other stuff. She is just outside of Providence, Rhode Island. She is Jessica Kion. Hi, Jessica. How you doing?
Hello, I'm doing good.
Excellent. It's been a few months since I saw you in the proverbial flesh.
Yeah.
So, and that was Bent Knee, by the way, boys and girls, and that was by far my favorite concert that I've been to. And it's not just me shamelessly kissing up because you're in front of me right now. I get asked the question now, and that pops into my head, that particular show, because that was energy had feel that day. I mean, it was like a wave of energy coming over me. You guys are always high energy when you play anyway. Just to feel that reflecting back from the crowd, that had to have been a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Excellent. Now, things have changed, but first I'll ask you how things are going for you these days. What's going on? What's shaking?
Well, I've been working on an album of 10 songs that I wrote about my dad dying, and I started it in like March of last year of 2022, and just recorded it really quickly in like 4 days, and then
Wow.
it was mixed and mastered by the end of last summer, and then I've made a bunch of music videos and have basically just been sitting on this piece of work and started putting things out. Recently, I have 2 singles out now, and yeah, I'm super excited about it, and yeah, I think it's one of the coolest things I've ever made.
Excellent.
And
And this is all under Justice Cow, correct? You're
yes, yeah.
excellent. Justice Cow kids. They're on Bandcamp. We'll circle back around to that because the music is fascinating. And first of all, I'm sorry for your loss, and I can relate because we're both members of a very sad club now. It's not something that you're eager to be a part of, but it happens, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you were able to channel that energy in a productive way. And we're kind of jumping into the middle of this, and I don't care because there's no script. Was it? Did everything come together? I mean, you recorded it quickly, but did the songs themselves come together relatively quickly? And you're talking about 10 songs here, so was it different? How am I trying to word this? Obviously, there were different subjects under the whole, but did you see it as kind of a chronological thing from when you were growing up, or how did you go about putting it together?
I didn't know it at the time, but my cousin told me this like construct that really helps. It's called like thinking of your kind of like grief and baggage as like all these like physical items in a grief case, and
Interesting.
it's like the things you carry around with you. And I find that like a lot of those things are pretty charged, like full of different kinds of emotions. And so yeah, my cousin told me about this idea that you can kind of explore what's in there. And yeah, I didn't realize like this wasn't the plan at the time, but I was kind of one at a time, like taking things out of my grief case, like things that I was disappointed about or angry about, or just like missing my dad about, and just kind of placed them into these songs. And I think the most like profound part of that was that then I wasn't really like carrying those things around with me anymore. They just kind of stayed in the songs.
I got you.
And making this album, I made it in about like 2 weeks. And it just like, I felt really so much lighter and able to talk about things easier. And yeah, I also went to some like Al-Anon meetings, which is like a companion to AA, where it's a program for like friends and family of people who have alcoholism. And I found that really helpful for a couple of months to like attend meetings and just not feel alone or crazy, and like the kinds of thought patterns or guilt or frustrations that you feel when you are close to someone with alcoholism.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And you're seeing immediately from the time you sit down. There's nobody looking at you like, what are you talking about? Everybody can relate, right away.
Yeah, it's really helpful to just, be in a room where everyone's like, yep, that's what happens. And also just like, I think kind of like any kind of structured situation where it's like a group gathering, it's really helpful to have like things to work on and like a path when, I feel like, although it didn't necessarily feel like everything applied to me because it wasn't like an ongoing situation like most everyone else there, it still was helpful to like have the book and like read the daily like pages of like what to kind of think about today, and like it's nice to have a guide. Yeah,
that is interesting. Now, I play jazz every Sunday to honor my dad.
That's awesome.
Sunday, I call it. He played it every Sunday when I was a kid, and you know how it is. You do your best. You do your best to avoid what your parents are listening to until you realize that it appeals to you. And now, hardly a Sunday goes by when I can't. I have to grab Miles Davis or Sheldon Ponte or something like that. Is there anything musical that reminds you of your dad?
Definitely. So my dad was a musician also, and he played piano and sang and wrote songs, and he like has recordings, so I can literally listen to him, but then also him and my mom, I think like looking back, I think they were just both like stressed working parents with 3 kids being like, but they were like so into smooth jazz. They'd like always have like their radio set to that. And I was again like so like, this is so corny, this is so cheesy. Until like kind of a weird way in, like do you know the band Blood Orange?
I'm sure I've heard of them. I'm sure I've heard of them.
Yeah.
Smooth jazz isn't necessarily my thing. I'm more of a straight ahead and or a fusion guy. You know what I mean?
Well, okay, so I would agree, but I feel like Blood Orange is more of he's just kind of like a collage artist. He's an amazing producer, and worked with Caroline Polachek like 10 years ago, and like he will have kind of like smooth jazzy vibes sometimes, right? And then sometimes he'll have like word like what is it called, like kind of like slam poetry kind of vibes. And then he also will include these like amazing just like field recordings of like people in New York or people like in a like a pool hall or something.
Huh.
And so it just has this like really alive feeling. And
Okay.
it kind of like, at first I was like, oh, I don't like this. This reminds me of smooth jazz. And then Ben was so into it. I was like, okay, well, it's actually very cool.
Someone else approves of it in the house, so we can go ahead and do that. All right. Well,
Yeah.
I have a homework assignment then. I'll check it out and get back to you. And you guys out there should check it out and say, hey, there's something you can comment on. Everybody, check out Blood Orange and let's find out what we think. Uh,
Yeah.
the only constant in life, they say, is change. So things change. We have to deal with people coming in and out of our lives, and you and Ben are no longer part of Bent Me, which
Hmm.
crushes my soul, but at the same time, I understand it. From what I understand, Ben was tired of the road, and I can't say I
Hmm.
blame him because that's grueling. I mean, I haven't even done it, and when I thought I wanted to do it, a friend of mine said, "Yeah, you want to go out for 6 months? Why don't you try going out for 10 days and see how that grabs you? How are things feeling now that you are, for lack of a better phrase, you're not completely off the road, but you've definitely changed the routine. How are the changes feeling to you?
Um, I would say like, um, okay, the first thing that comes to mind, this may be like a little woo-woo, but I
Got to do what you got to do.
I really like I got really into tarot through my friend, and not like super super in, but like I like to do it, and I like to read other people's tarot cards, and I like to think of it not as like this is your future, but more
Right.
like I think they're all designed originally to just be different aspects of your mind and different things that humans struggle with. And so really like every card has some will like kind of like bring something up for you. And there's this card called the Fool that in the deck that I have is represented by like a baby chick.
Huh.
And it I feel like that's like the first thing that came to my mind is like I feel like both like excited and like a little bit unsteady, and also that like you know, people might call me the fool, you know, for taking my own path, but
Yeah,
also like it just like it's the way things had to be.
that makes sense. Makes sense. Metaphor
Yeah.
that popped into my head is sometimes you have to take a leap off the cliff and just see
Yeah.
see what happens after you take the leap. And that was, it's not to make it about myself, but when I left my career and decided to move and do this, that's a,
Yeah.
you call it a leap of faith or whatever you want to call it. It's just like, well, I'm not going to know until I until I step off. So let's
Yeah.
see how that goes. And and things are going fine. So I'm
Yeah.
sure I'm sure it'll work out the same way for you. Like life goes on, uh, and it's got to be, your compositions are your own now. So
Hmm.
you're basically your own quality control. Does that work better for you? Is it a position of more comfort, or are you actually harder on yourself now? Do you think?
Um, I would say like I would say I it's like become clear to me that like I have to be two people at once. Like I have to be like the person making the music and making art and music videos and like doing that, but then I also have to be the one like booking shows and promoting stuff and setting up all my releases and getting back to people on time, and just like I think that that has been like just like I feel like I I definitely like it because I get to like decide where I go, and I think my dad also dying from alcoholism like gave me a pretty different perspective than maybe a lot of people have in the music industry, which is like I really don't want to play a bunch of shows at bars anymore. I really
That's
don't
fair.
want to like keep like being in tandem with that industry, that I not only do I not believe in it, but I think it's like actively causing a lot of pain in our culture and suffering. And so that's one thing that, you know, I don't have to like plead my case. I can just be like, yeah, I'll play in a bookstore and a coffee shop, and you know, like, and I will still play in places with bars, but I think especially now while I'm kind of like getting my feet wet and making like the like just making the friendships that will, you know, I can be like, yeah, I'll play at a bar with you, but maybe next time we'll play at in an attic, and
Okay.
it'll be much more fun.
Makes
So
sense.
yeah.
A singer-songwriter I admire by the name of Rob Fetters plays house concerts now exclusively.
Mm.
You know, he spent
Yeah,
35, 40 years out with bands and what have you, and he's actually finding house shows to be more lucrative. You know, so that's
good
kind
for
of a
him.
sidebar type thing. But that when I look at you, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, that's a house concert type thing right there. That makes
Yeah.
perfect sense. And so um, I noticed you've done a few shows uh,
Hmm.
near your location, and
Yeah.
not out for an extended amount of time. How is that feeling? How's that feeling these days?
Um, it's feeling like pretty like exciting. I feel like especially now where I'm going into a lot of situations where I don't really know anyone else, it's kind of intense to just be like alone and showing up in a room where I'm like, hello, everyone. And,
It's me.
but yeah, I'm here now. But then, like, I've been playing a couple shows with some like friends, and yeah, they've just been like really meaningful. I think, you know, a big part is I'm playing this material about my dad out a lot. And yeah, people are really receptive to it. And um, just like, I feel like it kind of breaks the ice of like a normal show where yeah, it just delves deeper, it feels. And so people are more willing to share things with me. And um, yeah, I just like, I feel like I get closer to people faster.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
It's going to sound cynical, but it's not. But it's like we're all attending a musical therapy session. Above all else, where we're just kind
No,
of
yeah.
we're,
Yeah,
we're
and that's
bonding.
kind of like, especially with the way I feel like I like the making of the album helped me so much. I kind of feel like I gotta spread the word of like, hey,
Right,
by the way, if you talk about these things a lot, they get better. And
which
like,
is a
let's
beautiful
all
thing.
cry about it, and then like, please go home and like write some songs or make some art about your people.
I like that. I like that a lot. It's got to be, and I'm sure it's going to help your future projects as well. You know that once you've channeled this, has the cycle started again, or do you kind of stop yourself while you're promoting a particular record?
From like writing more stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I have a songwriting club where we write a song a week, and
Ah,
so we just kind of keep our toes dipped in. And it's not that I literally write a song every week, especially like this summer we've had a lot of breaks, but yeah, I get to write, you know, songs and share them with friends. And I also am part of a community through like Ben and our friend Hugo Maru.
hmm.
Um, and we do like a month long song challenge. And I would say 75% of those I'm able to write a song for too. So
you can't force creativity. Hopefully it's just there. I mean, I love when people tell me that, from this time to this time I write. And I'm like, I can't schedule my writing. I'll be in the middle of a movie and something will hit me. I'm like, wait a minute. I have to get up and go and go deal with that real quick. That's all right. I've seen this movie. I know how it ends. Let me go ahead and write this real fast. So that's helpful. And I'm coming to you for songwriting tips. That's what I'm doing.
Okay.
That's the lesson you're giving me. And there's more to that. We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
I want to circle back to videos because there was a time, back in my day. That's right, I said it. Back in my day, video production was ungodly expensive. I mean, we're not talking about getting on MTV because they don't do music anymore. Go figure. But how challenging is it to put together music videos in this day and age?
Well, I would say if you're a person who's like separate from like making videos, like if you're like, I'm a musician, that's all I do, I feel like really hard, can be really expensive. But I am super interested in it. So it's really fun for me to experiment. And during the pandemic, I was making a bunch of animations and really like a lot of 2D stuff, which was super time intensive and like got like back problems and neck problems and hand problems from just like doing that.
Video production injuries. Who saw that coming? Okay.
Who knew? Like everyone in the animation industry is like, yeah. We know.
I hadn't even thought about that, but go figure. I guess it's kind of a repetitive stress type thing that you're doing.
I mean, yeah, and I think that I think some people, are smarter about it or can, work in a way or just take more breaks or stretch more. But what I kind of learned was like, ooh, I don't really want to do this forever. And although it looks cool, I felt like I started transitioning to 3D animation and like filming with cameras instead of 2D stuff. And that has been really fun. I basically over like the end of the summer and into the winter, I just like got cool music video ideas. The first one was I was just like, I think I want to go to a carnival and just like film some like B-roll, like film like the lights and stuff.
Huh.
And then I went and then I just started like lip syncing to my song. And then I just started like filming myself on like every ride, like singing. And then I also was like, it was in like a forested area, so I didn't have any cell service, so I couldn't actually like hear the song. So then in editing, I had to like speed up and slow down to like match.
Well, that's not challenging.
Yeah, but it was like, it just completely like lit me up and got me so excited that I could make a music video on my own just by going somewhere cool. And then I asked my brother to help me. Like I like got in a small pond and my brother had like a little step ladder and like, like overhead filmed me. And I went with two of my friends to a couple of haunted houses in the Northeast. And one of them is just open during the day and then closes, and then like all the actors come in and like, but like during the day it's just like a little walk through. And so I was like, we're doing that, and it was awesome and it was so fun. And we went through like a haunted house as our like last thing that we did, and it was terrifying. Like my friends and I were like moving as one, and like our feet were just like like taking these tiny like shuffle steps, and we were like sweating and like gripping each other and like screaming in each other's ears on accident. It was amazing.
How Blair Witch of you. Yeah, that's
exactly.
It's fascinating and creepy. I don't know if I want to if I want to be a part of that. I have an image in my head now of you just driving to the grocery store and seeing an idea. Ooh, there's a video idea. Does it come that easily for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it helps with this album being so nostalgic, and yeah, I think there's just some things that were like, yeah, that would be cool. And I think I had one friend joke that it was like different levels of a game. Like you go to the cave layer, and then you go to like the library level, and it's just like the different music videos.
Something else I hadn't thought of. Okay, new video producers is Jessica Kion Video Productions out there? Are you willing to work for other people, or is this something you want to keep to yourself?
I would love to work for other people. I have filmed some friends' videos. I've been a director of one, and like I co-wrote the like, I'm forgetting the like shot by shot list storyboard.
Right.
And then with a different one, it was kind of similar to one of my videos where I was just like, let's just go to Providence and I'll film you and we'll just go in front of cool backgrounds and see what happens. And it was so fun. And yeah, I am all about it, truly.
That's cool.
Yeah.
that is really cool. It sounds like a really good time. Back to your album, I don't ask people to pick their favorite songs because it's like picking your favorite child, and you should never do that. But is there any song that sticks out in particular for you? Anything that really hits home harder than the others?
I feel like Adventure Song, which is how I end the album, is probably the most like just nice memories song. Mm-hmm. And it's like I think the like most positive message from it, which is that like adventures keep us alive, and like just kind of remembering all these like kind of random places my dad would take us as kids, and just like how I think the flip side of that, which is that he stopped going on adventures and stopped putting himself out there in that way. And
gotcha.
Yeah.
How are your siblings receiving it? Because you're all in the same boat. How are they feeling about the record?
My older brother Tyler, I asked actually to play on it as well. He plays saxophone, mm-hmm. and he sings a little bit on it too.
Okay. And
it was hard for him to record it. Just like it was a hard moment in his life. Like for many reasons. And then, but then I think he also had a similar relieving feeling once he had finished and once the album was done, of like getting some of that out. And then my younger sibling Colton, I feel like it just took Colton a while to hear it and to just go there. And then one day I just received this beautiful poem that was like kind of an outpouring of all these different feelings and memories too, as kind of a response. That was really beautiful. So I feel really lucky that that's the situation.
Nice. That's very nice. You live with another singer-songwriter.
I do.
I always think of Amy Mann and Michael Penn, where your child. It's not just enough to be a great singer-songwriter. You have to be the best singer-songwriter in the house. So I said, never mind in the world or the country. I have to be the best one in the living room right now. Do you guys like to collaborate? Is there a sense of friendly competition? How does it work for you guys?
Yeah, I don't think competition, but I think that I think one of my favorite things that we do is like when one of us is working on something and like calls the other one into the room, like, here, check out what I've been working on. And okay. Just to have that like back and forth. And yeah, Ben also played guitar on this album and some synth stuff and sang as well. And I just tracked some vocals on Ben's new album. So yeah, I think we like to be a part of each other's things, and I think we also like to just show each other what, some like parts of our souls, like, here's a new thing, the things I've been thinking about, well, here they are in this song, and right. It's really cool.
Makes sense. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I was going somewhere with that. I'm guessing the lyrics for the new record, are a little more literal. Do you find that there's another device you like to use? Do you like metaphor? Is there another method you prefer?
I mean, I think for this album, I was really inspired by Sufjan Stevens, Carrie and Lowell, and there's an album by Mount Eerie called A Crow Looked at Me. They're both like losing people albums that are like really wonderful. A Crow Looked at Me is particularly brutal and straightforward. And I think that it's like much more straightforward than I have been in the past. And yeah, I think sometimes I think it depends on what you're talking about. I think when I write songs like super quickly, like improvising lyrics or something, or writing them down like just really fast, I think I don't really understand what they're about. And then it kind of comes to me later, like, oh, I guess this is about that. But I think just depending on what's going on, sometimes it's really helpful to draw that, like, the metaphorical line. Yeah.
Typically, does the music come first or do the lyrics come first? Typically, I know it doesn't happen the same way every time, but how does it usually happen on average?
For me, mostly, it's like I kind of do everything all at once. Like, I'll just kind of find some chords on the guitar, or like write a little groove with a couple of chords in a DAW, and then just kind of like start writing, and lyrics and melody just kind of happen at the same time. And I'll often just like have a lot of voice memos that are like, every time I get a new line, I'm like, okay, I'll record it again. So there'll be like 14 of the same song, and like 2 of them are the whole thing. And the rest
eventually you'll hit on it and say, there it is. That's what I was that's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I don't think I ever asked you before, how many instruments do you play?
I mean, it's a tricky question, because I feel like play is like relative. It's like I have like a drum pad that I got recently, and like I could play a drum groove, or I could record like layer by layer, like the kick and then the snare, and then but I don't play drums,
Yeah, getting all those limbs moving at the same time can be hard. So
yeah.
I understand, but I don't want to
Yeah.
think of you solely as a bassist. I mean,
Yeah.
I picked on you before we came on about going to Berkeley and all that. I'm like, well, if you go to Berkeley, you have to be pretty well versed, and I'm guessing in more than just one instrument. At least have working knowledge of something else, as you go
I
along.
don't think so. I think you could just come with one instrument, but then at least while you're there you learn like how to, I mean, it really depends on what you choose to like study. Like
That's
you
fair.
could come playing piano and then study music business and never even touch a piano again. But
That does happen.
yeah, I feel like I kind of like kick myself for not taking like vocal lessons while I was there because it was just there was like kind of an uncool like air about like being a like female presenting person and like being a singer. Like it was
Huh.
kind of like, of course you're just a singer kind of vibes, which is not cool at all because singers are great. But like
Yeah,
it
but you don't have to tote
really
much equipment, so
yeah, it really made me like be like I gotta pick a team. I gotta like I never sing. I just play bass, and then I started taking songwriting classes, and then there I was singing, but without like proper Berkeley coaching. But
well,
yeah,
I happen to like your singing voice. I'm just saying, and again, it sounds
well,
like I'm shamelessly sucking up, but I'm not. But the harmony, the harmonies you did with Courtney just blew my mind from time to time. I'm like, oh, and then when you finally came forward and sang a couple of times on the Frosting record, yeah, there she is. Yes, she does know what she's doing out there. So I thought about multi instrumentalism because I think of Miles Davis. I come from that jazz background, and
yeah,
Miles used to talk to Dizzy Gillespie and ask, well, on this particular tune, why did you play that note? And Dizzy sat Miles at a piano and said, well, you have to be able to see the entire spectrum of notes to understand what relates to what. So it almost feels like at a place like Berkeley that basic piano almost feels like it should be required just so you can understand how composition works.
yeah. I mean, I did have to take for a songwriting major. I had to take 2 semesters of keyboard, and then I chose to take a one like guitar for songwriters class, and
Yeah.
I feel like those helped a lot. But I really the piano stuff was rough, to be
I
honest.
understand.
Like, yeah, I just crammed so much at Berkeley, which is just like my style. Like,
Yeah.
I just be like, oh, I'm not gonna learn this, and then I'd be like staying up all night, and then my hands are like shaking and cramping, and I'm like, I can do it.
I'm ready now.
Yeah.
Let's go for it. Procrastinators unite. I'm right there with you. I,
Hmm.
I understand. I work better under pressure is what we always like to
Yeah,
we
that's
like to
like
say.
what we like to say. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But it's got to be good to take those basic courses because if anything, you can communicate with other musicians what it is you want, what you're
Yep.
looking for. So
Yeah.
that makes perfect sense. And switching back to the business side of the music business, which you're really, being, I guess you're getting some baptism by fire in a lot of ways. I mean, I'm sure you've done it before, but now it's a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they say if you want to make money in the music business, don't be a musician. But still, there's got to be the challenges of just routing a tour and what have you. How much goes into that? Because that's something I've never had a chance to really ask anybody.
I was involved a bit early on with Bentley tours. Like, I remember specifically there was a tour that Courtney and I sat down at a cafe and just kind of from shows we had played in the past and like routes we had done in the past, kind of figured out a route that made sense. And it's just like, it's a lot of like Google Maps being like, how long is this drive? Is this reasonable? Um, in a day, and just like also having a memory for like what bands like brought like the full package. Like they brought like the good vibe, they like brought like nice attitudes, or a crowd, and keeping track of that can be like really tricky when you play hundreds of shows.
Yeah,
So
I would imagine. I can't even
yeah.
fathom of coordinating a world tour for some big time band where you're just doing arena shows all over the place. I just shudder thinking about that.
I mean, I feel like that's so much more straightforward, because like eventually they just all become like the same companies, and you just go with like who is under that contract, and like what venue matches the level that you're like the level of crowd you're playing to. And it's just like it just is like, yeah, you contact the venue people, and like, yeah, I think it's actually like much simpler when you're like Taylor Swift.
Well, we'll have to ask her booking agent real quick, but
Yeah.
uh, just still the thought of just going to Soldier Field, just right down the street from me, right here, and playing, 3 shows, or even somebody like the National, who I just saw at
Yeah.
at the auditorium there. They played 4 nights in Chicago, and I'm just thinking to myself, that's and it was a remarkable show. Don't get me wrong; I was there on night 2, and it was a
Okay.
remarkable show. And I'm thinking that's got to be a little easier because at least you're not worrying about setting up and breaking down for a couple of days. And
True.
I didn't even ask you how much stuff do you take with you when you go play?
It depends on the show. Sometimes I'm taking acoustic guitars, sometimes I'm taking electric guitars and an amp. I have like an amp just for guitars, or an amp that I can plug in a mic and a guitar into, that's really small. And bring like a guitar stand, a mic stand, a music stand, merch, and that's about it.
And be gone. Pack it all in the car and let's go. How
Yeah.
and I'm just sure how I got off on this tangent, but now I'm just curious. How long of a drive is too long between shows? Do you think?
Well, I mean, doing it alone is quite different than doing it even
Yeah.
with one more person. So yeah, there was a night like 2 weeks ago when I played in Brooklyn on a roof, then at a hippie festival, doing a workshop, and then a show in Asbury Park, New Jersey. And I I like talked to the other bands, and I was just like, I think I'm gonna go home before the show's over, because they were like, it was like 7 acts or something. Like it was like a lot of changeover and a lot of music. And I got on the road at like 12:40 a.m. and I made it like 30 minutes, and I was like, I have to stop at a rest stop.
Yeah, yeah. I can see that can be a little late after playing a show, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no doubt there's the adrenaline rush of actually playing, but there's got to be a there's a crash behind that. So you have to
Yeah.
take a breather or two. So
Yeah.
how does the recovery feel? And I'm not sure what the hell that means, but how long does it take before you feel like, okay, I'm ready, I can go play again, or do you need an extended amount of time?
I would say, like I'm pretty adaptable to the situation. Like, that weekend I knew I had a lot of shows ahead of me, and I was just like, I usually don't drink caffeine, but then I was like, I'm probably gonna drink caffeine this
Yeah,
weekend. And then, yeah, I had 2 shows this past weekend, and I would say like it took until probably like today to start feeling normal again. So like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday,
Yeah.
feeling
I'd
like,
say it, I said,
all
and
right.
normal for a musician has to be a relative term or highly subjective. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think I'm ready. I feel less bleary eyed. Let's go ahead and go out there and see what happens. All right. I won't keep you all day. What's next for you? What's down the road, so to speak?
Well, I'm going to keep releasing singles and I'm going to release this new album in September. I'm
Okay.
like narrowing on the date, like probably today or tomorrow, so I can actually nail it down. And yeah, I've got shows this summer, just like probably like 6 or 7 more shows. And yeah, I think I am luckily like entering like the end of the cycle at this level
Right.
where, I don't have like a huge following. I don't do a world tour with this album, but I can start like, figuring out the next album and the next like music videos and start on that path pretty soon.
Nice. And I bring this up with other musicians, and I can't stress it enough for fans and what have you, because they'll see that you're playing shows on the East Coast, for lack of a better phrase, but you live on the East Coast,
I
and
do.
touring is ungodly expensive, so it's kind of hard to imagine you getting across to LA or San Francisco or to Portland or what have you. So
Yeah.
I give you a chance to explain to your audience why the car only drives so far. So help them to help them to understand that concept.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I would love to come back out and tour the West Coast. It's like I'm from the West Coast originally, so I I feel like I have those evergreens in my blood,
Yeah,
the Pacific Northwest, and yeah, there may come a time when it makes sense for me to plan a tour out there, or like open for someone who's going out there. Totally, I'm totally down for that. But yeah, in the meantime, I would say I was surprised and delighted when I got paid $115 for a gig. So, as you know, gas is, I don't know, like
yeah,
$60 a gallon or
yeah. It's
$60 a tank.
I take yeah. It ain't cheap. That much is certain. So
So,
so
yeah, I
there'll be
think,
no staying at the Hyatt for you during these these road trips. I,
yeah,
under, I understand. I understand. All
yeah.
right. You've mentioned a couple of records I haven't heard of or haven't heard much about. So let's take a second and everyone else can participate. Oh, and let me backtrack real quick. I know there's a Portland in Maine for all you Weisenheimers out there, and I wasn't talking about that one. I was talking about the one in Oregon. Because as soon as I said it, I'm like, ah. So, and no, I'm not editing this out. I'm just,
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's the way it goes. I was referring to the one in Oregon, people. So, so let's stick with that one real quick. So, now I just lost my train of thought, but it's oh yeah, your some of your favorite records that you've been listening to. I mean, some musicians don't do a lot of casual listening, but it sounds like you do at least some. So what's making you happy right now?
I am really, really into the Foxing album,
Oh, I
Draw
love
Down the
Foxing.
Moon.
Yeah, yeah. St. Louis band, by the way. I have to bring that up. Don't you know?
Really?
Yeah, yeah. Foxing is from St. Louis. So,
They're so cool.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have a lengthy talk about them later.
Okay.
So,
Good.
what else you got? Boxing is awesome, so
Um,
I wholeheartedly endorse that one.
okay. I feel like in terms of inspiring me for this album, Maddie Diaz, her album, I think it's called New Person, Old Place. I think that
Okay.
might just be a song from it. But incredible. It's about a breakup. It's very visceral and yeah, just really just on repeat a bunch. Yeah, the albums that I mentioned about death stuff
Right.
are Carrie and Lowell by Sufjan Stevens and A Crow Looked at Me by Mount Erie. And
Okay.
I would say Carrie and Lowell is like can be pretty heavy at moments, but it's just like it's like an album about his mom, and it has like a lot of memories, and it has death stuff as well. But Mount Erie is like delving into the depths. It's like if you like need to cry, if you're like, I gotta cry right now, like
That's
pull
the
that
one.
one out. It'll be an ice pick to the heart, and yeah, it'll get you.
Really good song title, by the way. Ice Pick to the Heart. We'll have to
Yeah.
have to look into that. Last but not, yeah, write that one down. That could be that's our collab right there. We're gonna do Ice Pick to the Heart. Last but not least, I know you got stuff to do. Plug yourself shamelessly. Tell us where to find your music.
Okay, I'll do it shamelessly.
Let it all
All
hang
right.
out. Just go
So,
for it. I see what you did there.
I have a new website I'm really excited about called justicecow.com. And
Okay.
it's inspired by the Space Jam website from the 90s. And
Interesting.
there are like sound samples kind of embedded into different buttons.
Mhm.
So there's like literally screams and like air horns, and I think it's just the coolest ever. Also, if you use the desktop version, your mouse will leave a trail of Justice Cow emojis
Interesting.
that like get progressively smaller and fall down, and it's the best. It's just I'm so pumped about it, and that has my shows and my like YouTube videos and just like stuff about I made a course this past year about songwriting with Ben and our friend Josh, and you can find all that info there. And then also I've been doing a lot of YouTube stuff, and yeah, my music is streaming everywhere, and Instagram is probably the place that I post the most, like, this is what I'm up to, or this is a stupid thought or funny thing. So yeah.
Okay.
There's
Fair
that.
enough. We'll start there.
Okay.
Instagram is something I'm trying to get better at, but that's another conversation for another day. Jessica, I can't thank you enough. You and I could talk all day and have
I know.
before, but I'm sure other people will have, stuff they want to do and they want to go check out your music. So let's let them go do that.
Okay.
And, I'm looking forward to completing the trilogy one of these days down the road, because, this is part 2. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. And we will see you down the road. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Cedric.
Not a problem.